Hi everybody, in this lecture we are going to be going over JavaScript strings. JavaScript strings are used for storing and manipulating text. A JavaScript string simply stores a series of characters like John Doe. A string can be text inside quotes. You can have a single or a double quote. We have already seen that. Let's try to put it to use. So let's write a script tag. And as always, this will be shared with you, so you can refer to this document or this working example when you want to. Let's create a variable. Text is equals to John Doe. Okay, so as always, John Doe can also be spelled text2 as John Doe. So you can have quotes, single quotes as well as double quote. You can also use quotes inside these strings. For example, let's change this to it's alright. It's alright. Let's try to do a console.log text comma text2, and let's close this. Let's open the console. Let's run. You can see it's alright. Even the single quote got displayed. But what will happen if I want a double quote? Let's say I want to quote it. It's alright, said Sean. In this case, it will not work. You see, there's an error. The reason being, JavaScript assumes that this is the end of the quote. And how you can make sure that JavaScript understands it? Well, there is something called as an escape character. And that is nothing but a backslash. So let's try to give this escape character backslash. So let's run this. It shows the backslash because the way JSBin works, it already converts it to a string and then displays you on the console. It plays with the console. Now let's try to run this on our browser and see what happens. You can see it's alright, said John Doe. And the next one is a John Doe, which is a text2. Let's comment this out. And let's run again. You can see it's alright, said John Doe. So you can use a double quote even in a string. And the way you get the console is either you right click and say inspect. To open the console, you can do F12 or you can do a command alt I in your Mac. What if you want to check how long your string is? In that case, let's do a text2 dot length. String also provides methods like dot length that will give you the length of a particular string. In this scenario, it's 8. Let's count it. John, which is 4. Space 5 and 3 for Doe. What if I add more? Let's do this. I want to count the string. It's 30. Should be 32, right? So you can get the length of the string using the dot length. We can also make sure that if I want to quote something in a single quote, I can use the same backslash and it should be able to escape it. Let's run. That's 33 because I deleted one of them and I added 2 slashes. But let's just display text2. What if you want to use a backslash in your string? For instance, let's say I want to do something like this. And let's just remove the quotes. Well, this will not work and you can see the slash is not visible because it's avoided. Now, if you really want to display a slash, you can do a double backslash. What this will do is it will give you a single slash. Now, that brings us to a very good concept. If our string goes beyond a certain point, which is 80 characters, for readability, we said that we can break it down into 2 lines. But what if it goes to another line? This is where your string can come, your slash can come into, your backslash can come into picture. You can just do a backslash and enter. And you can space it out and let's try to run it. You can see it will just give the tabs that I gave. Otherwise, let's remove that also. Let's do clear and run. And you can see that it already gave you the space. There are 2 spaces because I have a space here and I have a space here. And it works. You can also do a line break using a plus sign. So what usually people do is they end the string on line 1, they do a plus sign, and they start the string, which is the next one, onto the next line. So that way it gives you them more readability, and it still works because there is a plus sign, and this is not showing the correct color because it has to be a double quote, and here there is a single quote. Let's change that. Let's run it, and you can see the string getting displayed. So the escape characters are very helpful, especially when you're using the strings, and backslash is an escape character. There are others too, but that particular set was more useful when there were typewriters and teletypes. In those days, the backslash was useful for having a backspace or a carriage return and things like that. We don't usually use that in HTML, so it's probably useless to go over it. But in case if you want to see it, I have already shared it in a document. Strings can also be objects. What I mean by this? Normally you write a string as this one. John Doe. Let me create a new one actually so that you can play along. Variable text3 is equals to John Doe. Okay. So now this is your string. Very straightforward. What if you want to have another variable? Let's say x is equals to new string, and you pass the parameter John Doe. It will still work. So if let's do a text3 comma x as an output and see what we get. The answer should be John Doe. Why does it work? Well, because string is basically creating the same string with an object. String is a primitive type. So when you declare it like this, the primitive string type comes into picture. But when you declare it as an object, a new string is created from that object. Now what does this mean? It means that when you do a type of this text3, you should get it of type string. And when you do a type of this string, which is x, you should get it as an object. Let's try to do that as well. Text3, let's do a text3 and type of. Similarly, let's do it for x. Let's change this comma to a plus so we can see what happens in the same line. Let's put a code. Yeah, trying to make it a little fancy. Let's run it again, and you can see John Doe is of type string and John Doe is of type object. What does this mean to our equality? Remember we saw operations where you can compare things. Let's try to do it and see what happens. So if we compare x double equals to text3, we should get some output. And let's say x double equal to text3 let's do it the other ways, plus this, and let's make this a text so that we know that this is the text to this is equal to, and the answer would be, let's update this to text3. Let's put this in a bracket so that we know that this is our condition, and let's clear the console, run the console, and the answer should be 2. The values match. Now what if I try to compare the explicit type, which is a 3 equal sign? In this case, although the values would be the same, the types are different. One is a string and the other is an object. So the answer would be object. And that is where the problem comes in. Let's say you have another variable, y is equals to new string John Doe. And let's try to compare y and see what happens. Let's do a comparison for y. Let's replace this with y, y, and y. Let's clear the console and let's run. Okay, the updates are not yet. Okay, so x is double equal to y is false. Sorry. X is double equal to true is y is also false, and x double triple equal to y is also false. Well, that's the bummer. The reason is objects cannot be compared as objects directly. No two objects will be same if the values are still the same. And that's why it's advisable that we never use new string. Avoid using new string ever in your code. Avoid this.